Hey YouTube, it's your girl Mianna and I'm back with another video. Okay, so today's topic is depression or mental health in general, coping mechanisms with dealing with that while you're in the Air Force. I can only speak on the Air Force, I can't speak on military wide because obviously I'm only in the Air Force. And I think sometimes people are afraid to talk about dealing with depression or anxiety or any issues that you're having as far as like coping with your area maybe that you're in or coping with circumstances like at your job or anything. I know it's very hard. I've been in the Air Force for over 5 years now, so I've went through so many different stages during my career. I am a staff sergeant in the Air Force now. I work in supply chain management, so logistics, and people think that, oh, like within the Air Force, think that my job is like one of the easier jobs, but just dealing with being in the Air Force in general can be hard for a lot of people that have never had to be on their own, adapt to different like conditions as far as like, going to a different base is hard, especially like being away from family and just having to like continuously uproot yourself and just, move and so we're gonna get into all that. Okay, it's a lot. So yeah, like I said, I've been in the Air Force for over 5 years. I'm from Texas, and so going into basic training was pretty like it wasn't that bad for me. Like it was hard being away from my family because I am very close to my family. I had never, like really been out on my own without them before. It was in San Antonio. Well, our basic training is in San Antonio, and so it wasn't that far because my family lives in Houston. So it was interesting though. I will say that it was very interesting. I actually enjoy basic training very much, and we can make a video about basic training later, so I'm not going to even go into all that. Um, but like adapting was pretty easy for that first little bit because you're still in the same state. Well, for me, I was still in the same state with my family. I got to see them once I graduated and everything. And I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. Made a lot of new friends. It wasn't for that long. But little did I know it was going to be very hard for me to adapt once I moved to my first duty station. So my first duty station was Seymour Johnson in North Carolina. And it was very different. Very, very different. So a lot of people viewed going to their first duty station as like, oh yeah, I'm out on my own, I'm doing my thing. Or like, people come into the Air Force at different ages. You never know, like, if they've already been on their own. But for me, I came in when I was, like 18 going on 19, around that. I can't even remember at this point. It was very hard for me, like, to adapt. So being at Seymour, everybody was pretty welcoming. It wasn't even about like the people. Just for me, I used to have a very hard time adapting to new situations. So not knowing that many people, and I got lucky. So I came from my tech school, was also at Lackland. So when I came to North Carolina, I came with two of my friends. So I already knew people. So like I didn't even have the worst circumstances to where like you're the first person, like you're the only person that you know there. Like you don't know anybody, you don't have anybody to go through the motions with. Like getting to know everyone is on your own. I didn't even have that issue, but it was still so hard for me. And it's just because of the person that I am, it's really hard for me to adapt to new situations. I like to be comfortable. Like, I love to be comfortable. So it was so weird for me just being around all these people, living in the dorms. Like, it was so weird because even in basic training, I was surrounded by girls. Like, literally, we slept in the same room together, everything. So I'm so used to being close to people, and even though there was people in the dorm next to me, I didn't know them, so it was just like I'm on my own. I don't know what to do. It was extremely hard for me to realize that I was dealing with depression for the first few months when I got to my base, because I am actually somebody that had previously dealt with it growing up, so I knew the signs. Like I could see myself changing, and I could see my mood like going back and forth, and I was down a lot, wanted to sleep a lot. Like that's one of the things for me. Like it just, I could see the signs starting to come out, like, oh, okay, we have to do something about this. But being so new, not really like being that close to people, it was really hard for me to like feel comfortable to where I could like talk to others about it. So it's like I have all this new leadership, all these new people around me that are trying to get to know me, and they expect me to be this one person. You know, you have to put on this kind of facade at first when you're getting to know people, that you're like, oh, bubbly all the time, but I was going through so much internally. So it was really hard, but me and a friend of mine actually were kind of going through a similar situation. And in the past, I've been one of those people that it's easier to deal with other people's problems than my own. So what I would do is I would do everything in my power to help that friend. At the same time, I'm kind of trying to help myself, but I'm not trying to focus too much on my own issues, so I'm pouring myself into someone else. I don't necessarily think that that was the best thing that I could do, but sometimes distractions, I will say, do help your situation. That's only like one of the times that I have dealt with depression while being in the Air Force, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys. For some people, it's easy, but for others, you will deal with it like continuously throughout your career. And that's just being real. Some people like adapting gets easier for them. For me, it has never been that way. Like even this is my second base. I'm at Eielson Air Force Base now in Alaska, and moving here was extremely hard. Like it's, I don't know, I'm just that person that goes through the motions of like depression a lot of times in a lot of different situations. So I think it's really important for people that are like me to understand how they can cope and how they can get over it, because I mean it's not just going to go away. You have to do something about it. So when I was growing up with depression, I kind of tried to hide it, but like I used to write like really dark poetry and all this stuff. Like I don't know, I'm like the creative type, so I would just pour it into something else. But like I don't know, since I've been an adult, I haven't really done the same things. I mean, right now, I think I'm in the best place to be able to talk about this, because I finally understand myself when it comes to these things. Before, like even in my first 2 years being in the Air Force, I still didn't really know how to cope. So I'll say like the first thing that you should do is not be afraid to talk to someone. Like, okay, you might not feel comfortable talking to like somebody that's on your base that you don't really know, like let's say if you're new like I was, but talk to somebody back home. Like find a blog, anything. Like talk to strangers. You don't have to tell them your entire situation, but just talking it out and venting or writing it down, making a video, like any form of release really does help you. When I started to release my feelings to those that care about me and that are close to me, like it really made me realize, okay, you're not the only one that's going through this. So even when I first came into the Air Force and I had that friend that was going through it as well, it kind of felt better. I mean, this is probably kind of sucks because like you don't want somebody else to be feeling down like you are, but you realize that there's so many other people that are going through this too. So being able to bond and like go through it and grow together kind of does help your situation. And I'm not just saying like go out looking for people that are hurt, because you cannot, first of all, help everyone. And especially while you're trying to help yourself. So I wouldn't do what I did and like focus on somebody else, because it kind of does like keep you from like being able to like truly focus on what you need. But I will say like being able to talk to somebody that has at least like been through your similar situation or like understands depression really will help you.